Today, we delve into the most impactful global news stories. A massive earthquake has struck Japan, the US-Iran conflict escalates, and political tensions rise in Sudan. Here are today's top 10 stories you need to know. In Sudan, ongoing political turmoil continues to escalate. The military government is facing mounting pressure from both internal and external sources. Recent talks between the Sudanese armed forces and European Union representatives have highlighted the dire conditions on the ground. Humanitarian organizations are increasingly concerned about the civilian toll. Reports indicate that drone strikes have killed over 1,000 civilians in just the first 5 months of this year. The conflict, which has persisted since 2023, shows no signs of abating. As the international community calls for a ceasefire, the situation remains critical. The United Nations is urging immediate humanitarian access to those affected. Moving forward, the focus will likely shift to diplomatic efforts aimed at stabilizing the region. The military conflict between the United States and Iran has intensified dramatically. As of July 25th, the U.S. military conducted its 13th consecutive night of strikes on Iranian military targets. This escalation follows months of rising tensions, including attacks on shipping lanes in the Red Sea. President Trump has vowed to punish Iran for its actions, which he claims threaten international stability. The strikes have drawn sharp criticism from various global leaders who warn of potential repercussions. The situation poses significant risks to regional security and could provoke further military engagement. Analysts suggest that a diplomatic resolution is urgently needed to prevent a broader conflict. As the situation develops, the international community is watching closely for any signs of de-escalation. Japan has been rocked by a powerful earthquake measuring 7.1 on the Richter scale. The quake struck in the early hours, causing widespread damage and panic among residents. This seismic event occurred in a region known for its tectonic activity, underscoring Japan's vulnerability to earthquakes. Emergency services have been deployed to assess the situation and provide aid. Reports indicate that several buildings have collapsed, with search and rescue operations underway. The Japanese government is coordinating with local authorities to ensure that affected communities receive immediate assistance. This earthquake follows a series of tremors in the region, raising concerns about aftershocks and the potential for further destruction. Authorities are urging residents to remain vigilant and prepare emergency kits. As recovery efforts begin, the focus will be on restoring infrastructure and supporting those displaced by the disaster. Experts warn that rebuilding may take years, but the resilience of the Japanese people will play a crucial role in the recovery process. Economic indicators suggest that growth in Europe has stagnated, raising alarms among policymakers and economists alike. Recent data reveal that major economies, including Germany and France, are struggling to recover from the long-lasting impacts of the pandemic. High inflation rates, which soared due to rising energy costs and supply chain disruptions, are identified as key factors contributing to this stagnation. The European Central Bank faces mounting pressure to implement effective measures to stimulate growth and curb inflation. As businesses grapple with escalating costs, consumer spending is declining, leading to reduced demand for goods and services. This economic landscape poses significant challenges for European leaders who must navigate complex fiscal policies and international trade issues. The stagnation could hinder job creation and investment, further exacerbating social inequalities. In the coming months, as policymakers deliberate on potential interventions, the region's economic health and stability will be tested. A decisive response is essential to foster a sustainable recovery and restore confidence in the European economy. Tensions in the South China Sea have escalated significantly as military exercises by the United States and its allies coincide with aggressive maneuvers from China. This strategic waterway has long been a flashpoint for territorial disputes involving several nations, including Vietnam and the Philippines. Recently, the U.S. Navy conducted freedom of navigation operations, asserting its right to sail through these contested waters, a move that China perceives as provocative. In response, Beijing has deployed additional military assets, including naval vessels and aircraft, raising alarms about potential confrontations. Analysts warn that miscalculations in this highly charged environment could lead to unexpected military engagements, with regional stability hanging in the balance. The ongoing friction underscores the fragile nature of diplomatic relations in the area. While diplomatic channels remain open, the road to resolution is complicated by deep-seated national interests and historical grievances. As both sides brace for further actions, the potential for a new phase of conflict looms, highlighting the urgent need for effective dialogue. A health crisis is erupting in the Democratic Republic of Congo as authorities grapple with a significant outbreak of Ebola. This deadly virus, known for its rapid transmission and high mortality rate, has prompted the government to mobilize health workers equipped with full protective gear to disinfect affected areas. The DRC's healthcare system, already burdened by years of conflict and inadequate resources, faces immense pressure as it responds to this latest challenge. Government officials are urging citizens to strictly adhere to safety protocols, including vaccination campaigns and rigorous hygiene measures, to mitigate the spread of the virus. The World Health Organization has stepped in to provide critical support in managing the outbreak, focusing on containment strategies. The impact of this crisis extends beyond health, as it threatens to destabilize local economies and disrupt essential services. As the situation develops, emphasis will be placed on enhancing community awareness and public health education. Health authorities are hopeful that with increased vigilance and cooperation, they can curtail the outbreak and safeguard the population from further devastation. China has announced a significant shift in its economic policy aimed at boosting domestic consumption. This strategic realignment is crucial as the country faces mounting pressures from a slowing global economy and trade tensions. Historically, China has relied heavily on exports to drive growth, but recent challenges have highlighted the need for a more sustainable model. The new policy emphasizes enhancing consumer spending, supporting local businesses, and investing in infrastructure to stimulate economic activity. Analysts believe this shift could reshape global trade dynamics, particularly for countries that depend on Chinese imports. If successful, this initiative may not only stabilize the Chinese economy, but also create new opportunities for international partnerships. However, the transition will require careful management to avoid potential pitfalls, such as inflation or decreased export competitiveness. As China implements these changes, it will be essential to monitor the effectiveness of these measures. A successful pivot towards consumer-driven growth could set a precedent for other nations grappling with similar economic challenges, paving the way for a more balanced global economic landscape in the years to come. Political unrest is escalating in France as President Macron faces increasing opposition from various factions. Recently, large-scale protests erupted across major cities, fueled by discontent over governmental policies perceived as detrimental to social welfare and economic stability. Citizens are particularly frustrated with rising living costs and stagnant wages. The situation has led to violent clashes between demonstrators and law enforcement, highlighting deep societal divides. Macron's government is under immense pressure to address these concerns, particularly regarding economic inequality and social justice, which have become rallying points for diverse groups. International observers are closely monitoring the unrest, aware that it could significantly impact France's political stability and influence broader European dynamics. Analysts suggest that Macron may need to make substantial concessions, such as reforms in tax policy and social programs, to quell the discontent. As protests continue to spread, they threaten to reshape the political landscape in France, with potential implications for upcoming elections. Looking ahead, Macron's ability to navigate this crisis will be crucial, as failure to respond effectively could lead to further unrest and challenge his presidency. The United States economy has officially entered a recession, a significant development confirmed by recent reports from economic analysts. This downturn stems from a confluence of factors, including persistently high inflation rates, rising interest rates, and a notable decrease in consumer spending. As prices soar, families are tightening their budgets, leading to reduced demand for goods and services. The Federal Reserve is under immense pressure to reconsider its monetary policy in an effort to stimulate economic growth and curb inflation. As a result, unemployment rates are projected to rise, with many businesses expected to implement layoffs or hiring freezes in response to the economic climate. The ramifications of this recession will likely permeate various sectors, particularly housing and retail, which are already showing signs of strain. Moreover, small businesses, often the backbone of the economy, could face severe challenges in securing financing and maintaining operations. In light of these developments, the government is actively discussing potential fiscal stimulus measures to mitigate the recession's impact. As policymakers weigh their options, the next few weeks will be pivotal in shaping a comprehensive recovery strategy aimed at revitalizing the economy and restoring consumer confidence. The focus will be on targeted interventions that can foster growth in key sectors. The conflict between the United States and Iran has reached a new level of intensity. Following several weeks of escalating tensions, the U.S. has launched a series of military strikes targeting Iranian military installations. This latest round of strikes, which began on July 17th, has included nighttime operations that have raised alarms among international observers. The Iranian government has vowed retaliation, warning that these strikes will not go unanswered. This cycle of violence is rooted in decades of distrust, with tensions flaring after the U.S. withdrawal from the 2015 nuclear agreement in 2018. The implications for regional stability are dire, as this conflict could destabilize not only Iran, but also neighboring countries like Iraq and Syria, where Iranian influence is significant. Moreover, the activities of proxy groups supported by Iran create a complex web of potential conflict, further complicating the landscape. As global leaders call for restraint, the potential for diplomatic negotiations becomes increasingly urgent. The risk of miscalculation is high, and military confrontations could draw in other regional powers, escalating the situation further. In light of these developments, the international community is advocating for de-escalation measures. Moving forward, the Biden administration faces a critical decision: whether to pursue dialogue with Iran or continue a hardline military approach, with implications that could reshape U.S.-Middle East relations for years to come. Thank you for tuning in to today's top stories. Which story shocked you the most? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates.